You won't believe what happened when Karen Renee, the neighborhood's self-appointed watchdog, decided my private pool was suddenly for community use. Yeah, you heard that right. One minute, I'm enjoying a quiet afternoon by my own pool. And the next, she's knocking on my door, full of attitude, claiming that everyone in the neighborhood should be allowed to swim there. Apparently, she thinks the pool belongs to the whole block, not me. It felt like my personal space was being invaded, and honestly, I wasn't about to just let that slide. Karen has always been the type to stir things up, always pushing her opinions like they're laws, but this time she really crossed a line. She was already planning a big party, inviting half the neighborhood over, acting like she had the right to use my pool for her own event. The nerve. It wasn't just about the pool, which was about respect, boundaries, and knowing when to keep your opinions to yourself. I wanted to teach her a lesson, but I knew I had to be smart about it. So, what did I do? Well, you'll have to stick around for that part, because I did something unexpected before her party even started. Something that made Karen's whole plan go completely sideways. But before we get there, let me tell you what led to this ridiculous situation. From the moment she showed up, the tension was real. There was a mix of frustration, disbelief, and a hint of amusement, because honestly, sometimes you just have to laugh at how dramatic things can get. This isn't just about a pool, it's about standing your ground when someone tries to take what's yours. But how far would I go? And what happened when Karen realized her community use plan wasn't going to happen? Stay with me, because this story is far from over. To understand how things got so tense, you need to know a little more about Prud'homme. Karen and the neighborhood. Karen has always been one of those people who likes to take charge whether anyone asked her to or not. She's known for making a big deal out of small issues. And if she thinks something affects the community, she's there with a complaint or a demand before you even blink. Most neighbors try to keep their distance or just nod politely, but I've never been the type to back down when I feel someone is crossing a line. My pool has been my little sanctuary. A place where I relax after long days and spend quality time with friends and family. It's on my property, fenced and clearly marked as private. But apparently, Karen had a different interpretation. When she showed up that afternoon, she was already rallying neighbors and spreading the word that my pool was open for community use, like it belonged to everyone. I heard whispers from others who felt pressured to go along with her plan. Even though some were uneasy about it, what made it worse was how quickly Karen started preparing for her big party. She was handing out flyers, setting up decorations in her yard, and telling people to bring swimsuits and snacks. It felt like she was turning my home into a public venue without asking. I tried talking to her, calmly explaining that this was my private property, but she brushed me off, acting like I was being selfish or unreasonable. That's when the idea started to form in my mind, something that would stop the party before it even began. But I had to be careful, because Karen isn't the type to take a hint. She thrives on drama and confrontation. So I had to plan carefully, making sure whatever I did was clever enough to make her rethink her actions without causing a full-blown neighborhood war. What happened next changed everything, and it all started with the pool. As Karen's plans for the party grew bigger, so did the tension around my house. Neighbors started to take sides. Some were curious, others annoyed, and a few even quietly supported Karen's idea of the community pool. It was strange to see how quickly things escalated just because of one person's insistence. I couldn't help but wonder if Karen really believed she had the right to treat my pool like a neighborhood amenity, or if this was just her way of showing off control. Either way, it felt like my boundaries were being challenged in a way I hadn't expected. Meanwhile, I noticed subtle changes around the neighborhood. People who usually kept to themselves were suddenly chatting about the party, wondering if they should go or stay away. Some even asked if I was going to share the pool, or if I planned to shut Karen down. It felt like I was caught in the middle of a growing drama that wasn't just about a pool anymore, was about respect and what it means to be part of a community without losing personal space. Behind the scenes, Karen was busy rallying more neighbors, sending messages in group chats and making it clear this party was going to happen, with or without my blessing. I started hearing rumors that some people were frustrated with me for not being a good neighbor, which made me think about how much pressure there can be to conform, even when it's unfair. At the same time, I had friends who stood by me, reminding me that a person's home and property should be their safe place, something no one else can claim. As I planned my next move, I also thought about the possible fallout. What if Karen took this further? What if the party turned chaotic or damaged my property? The more I considered it, the more I realized this wasn't just about a pool party anymore. It was a clash of personalities, expectations, and boundaries. And no matter what happened next, things in the neighborhood were about to change in a way none of us saw coming. The day of Karen's so-called community pool party was fast approaching, and the air around my house felt heavier than ever. I could see it in the way neighbors glanced over the fence, whispering, and in the way Karen strutted down the street, clearly proud of how she'd stirred up the neighborhood. She was confident, maybe even a little cocky, acting like she'd already won. But I knew better. This wasn't just about a pool or a party. It was about control and respect. And I wasn't about to let Karen rewrite the rules of my own property. I spent the morning checking every inch of the pool area, thinking through my plan again. The tension was almost unbearable. I wasn't sure how Karen would react if she found out what I was about to do, but I had a feeling it would blow up in ways nobody expected. Meanwhile, she was busy hanging signs, blowing up balloons, and inviting more people through social media. It felt like she was turning the whole neighborhood upside down just for her moment in the spotlight. Rumors started swirling about who would actually show up and what might happen if the pool was open, as Karen insisted. Some neighbors sounded excited, others nervous. A few even warned me that Karen could try to push things further, maybe even involve the HOA or local authorities. That thought made me uneasy. I didn't want this to become a bigger battle than it needed to be. Just as I finished preparing, I noticed a small crowd gathering near my front yard, people chatting quietly but clearly curious about what was coming next. Karen was out there, flashing a big smile and acting like nothing could stop her. The moment was almost here, and every second felt like it was stretching out longer and longer. What I did next changed everything. It was a move no one saw coming, and it set the stage for the biggest showdown our neighborhood had ever seen. But before I reveal what happened, you need to understand just how close we were to losing control of everything. The tension was at its peak, and the next few moments would decide how this whole story would unfold. Just when I thought things couldn't get any more tense, something unexpected happened that threw the whole situation into chaos. Right as Karen was about to kick off her party, with neighbors starting to gather and anticipation buzzing in the air, I noticed a delivery truck pull up. At first, I thought maybe it was for Karen's decorations or party supplies, a tea. But no, it was something far more surprising. The driver stepped out holding an official-looking envelope addressed to me. It was a notice from the Homeowners Association, and suddenly, the stakes were higher than I ever imagined. Apparently, Karen had already filed a complaint with the HOA, claiming I was being unneighborly by refusing to share the pool and accusing me of trying to sabotage what she called a community event. The letter demanded I allow reasonable access to the pool for all residents or face potential fines and penalties. I couldn't believe it. Karen had weaponized the HOA against me, turning what I thought was a private dispute into an official neighborhood battle. This move changed everything. Not only was my personal space under threat, but I was now caught in a much bigger conflict, one with legal weight behind it. Neighbors who were unsure before started watching even closer, and the tension grew thicker. Karen looked more determined than ever, convinced she had the upper hand. But here's the twist. Just as I was trying to figure out my next step, I overheard whispers that not everyone in the HOA agreed with Karen's complaint. Some board members were quietly questioning her motives and whether this complaint was truly justified or just a power play. That uncertainty added a new layer of suspense because the battle wasn't just between me and Karen anymore, it was spreading through the entire neighborhood's leadership. With the party still looming and the HOA notice in my hands, I realized this fight was about to get a lot messier. How would I stand my ground when the rules themselves seemed to be shifting under my feet? The next move could change everything. No one was ready for what came next. With the HOA notice in my hands and Karen's party about to start, I knew I had to act fast, but also smart. I wasn't about to let her bully me or turn my home into a public playground. So, just before the guests arrived, I made a decision that would shift everything. I started draining the pool. Slowly but surely, the water began to disappear right under everyone's noses. I wasn't destroying anything. I was just making the pool unusable for the party. When Karen found out, her smug smile vanished. Her plans were falling apart, and the crowd began to murmur with confusion and frustration. Karen confronted me, furious and demanding to know what I was doing. I stayed calm, reminding her this was my private property and my pool, not a community pool. I pointed to the HOA letter and told her I was willing to work within the rules, but I wasn't going to let her hijack my space. At that moment, some of the neighbors started speaking up, sharing how uncomfortable they felt with Karen's aggressive push and how this whole thing had gotten out of control. It was clear the community was divided, and Karen's power play wasn't as solid as she thought. Then came the real surprise. Just as Karen was about to storm off, the HOA president appeared at my door with a stack of paperwork. She explained that after reviewing the complaint, the HOA sided with me. The rules were clear. While the HOA encourages neighborly behavior, private pools remain private unless explicitly shared. Karen's complaint was dismissed, and any attempt to force community use without permission would be considered harassment. The tension broke. But the story didn't end there. As the crowd dispersed, I noticed Karen quietly slipping away. Not defeated, but plotting something new. The neighborhood had witnessed a battle over respect, boundaries, and community, and everyone knew this wasn't the last time Karen would stir the pot. But for now, my pool was mine, and the unexpected victory felt like a win for standing your ground. Still, the final twist. Just days later, I received an anonymous note slipped under my door, warning me to watch my back. The drama wasn't over, and neither was Karen. After the HOA sided with me, things slowly started to calm down in the neighborhood. Karen's party never happened at my pool, and the water stayed drained for a little while longer as a reminder that boundaries matter. Some neighbors reached out to say they appreciated how I handled the situation, standing firm but staying respectful. It wasn't about being mean or creating drama. It was about protecting what's yours and knowing when to say no. That's something I think a lot of people can relate to. Over time, the tension eased and normal life returned. Karen didn't cause any more trouble right away, but the anonymous note I got later reminded me that things might not be over for good. Still, I felt proud of how I stood my ground without letting the conflict spiral out of control. It showed me that sometimes you have to take action to protect your space, especially when someone else tries to overstep. Looking back, this whole experience taught me a lot about community and respect. Yes, neighbors should support each other, but that support can't come at the cost of someone's privacy or peace of mind. It's a balance that's worth fighting for, and sometimes a little firm action is needed to remind everyone where the lines are. If there's one takeaway from this story, it's that no one should feel pressured to give up their personal space, no matter how convincing someone else's argument might sound, whether it's a pool, a yard, or just your own home. Respecting boundaries is key to keeping peace in any neighborhood. Thanks for sticking with me through this wild ride. If you've ever dealt with a Karen or had to stand up for yourself in your own community, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your story. And if you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, keep standing strong and looking out for what matters most.